Good morning, students. I hope you all are good. Today we are going to start a beautiful poem. The name of the poem is A Photograph. This poem has been taken from one of the textbooks, that is Hornbill. See, the students of class 11, they have to study 2 books in a year in this subject. That is Hornbill and another is Snapshot. Right? This is the first poem of this textbook. It's a beautiful poem that truly narrates one's love for his or her mother. Right? Looking at the title, you can understand what exactly the poem and the poet are trying to say. The title of the poem is A Photograph. It's written by Shirley Tolson. Right? Now let us start how it goes. It says, the cardboard shows me how it goes when the 2 girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands. Now in these 3 lines, we can understand that the poetess, that is Shirley Tolson, she is looking at one of the photographs in which she saw 2 cousins of poet's mother. Right? She also says that these 2 little girls who were the cousins of poet's mother, they both were holding the hands of poet's mother at that time when the photograph was taken. I hope you are clear. Let me tell you what happens exactly. The poetess says that once she saw a photograph that had 2 cousins of her mother and her mother in the photograph. And it also says that these 2 girls had held the hand of poetess mother. Right? And she, the big girl, the 4th line starts with that. And she, the big girl. Now who is this big girl? Poet's mother. Now why is it written that it's big girl? Because in the 3rd line of the poem it is clearly written that both cousins were holding the hand of poetess mother. And obviously it comes to the shoulder of the oldest or the eldest member in the family to take care of the little ones, right? And she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. Dear students, in the 4th line the poetess says that maybe at that time when the photograph was taken, right, from that till now, so many years have passed, and in these 12 years, so many things have happened. So all these things are narrated by the poet further. All 3 stood still to smile through their hair. Now what does this line depict? This line depicts the exact time when the photograph was taken. Because when the photograph was taken, these 2 cousins and poetess mother, they all were accompanied by uncle of poetess mother. Right? And that's why it is written that when the photograph was being captured, obviously some formalities are to be done. We have to stand properly, we have to dress up properly, we have to arrange our hair, we should have a particular kind of expression, this and that. All 3 stood still to smile through their hair. Through their hair ka meaning kya hai? It means the place where the photograph was taken is the sea beach. Obviously the place is windy. तो hair जो थे उसके वो बार-बार पाउंड के कारण उड़ रहे थे. तो बार-बार वो तीनों लड़कियां अपने बालों को ऐसे ऊपर कर रही थी ताकि उनका फोटोग्राफ अच्छा आ जाए. All 3 stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. ये अपने बालों को अलग अच्छे से पीछे ले रहे थे सब, ताकि उनकी स्माइल कैमरा में कैप्चर हो जाए. और ये भी लिखा है कैमरा किसके पास था? At the uncle with the camera. They were looking at the uncle who was holding the camera was getting ready to click the pic. A sweet face, my mother's. किसके चेहरे की sweet face की बात हो रही है? The mother of the poetess. A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. Now it simply means the photograph was taken before the birth of the poetess Shirley Johnson. And the sea, which appeared to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Now dear students, यहाँ पर हमें बहुत ही important message समझना है. That is, nature is permanent. The sea that poetess mother had visited many years before, right? It was as same as it is today. It does not change. But nature does not change. Nature is not destroyed by anybody because it is permanent. That's what the poetess says. In the last line of the stanza, वो बहुत important है. Washed their terribly transient feet. Transient का meaning होता है temporary, right? तो transient feet क्यों बोला है? Because they were walking on the beach. There were the impression of their footprints on the beach sand, but all these footprints were washed away by the water of the sea. It means we people, human beings, we are not permanent, but nature is permanent. She was there when my grandfather was there. She would be there when I would be there. Got it? It simply means that nature is permanent. We are helpless against it. We cannot do anything. We, the human beings, we have a limited period of time to live. Got it? So in these lines, or we can say in this first stanza, the poet is talking about a beautiful photograph which contained the pics of the beautiful mother of the poet as well as two cousins of her mother. They were there at the sea, enjoying at the sea beach, and they were getting ready to get themselves clicked. And who was taking the photograph? The photograph was being taken by the uncle. It is also written that the face of the mother was looking very beautiful, and it is also written that the photograph was taken before the birth of the poet. And last two lines, let me remind you, last two lines have a message that the sea appears to have changed less. It means जो sea था, जो समंदर था, वहाँ पर कोई बदलाव नहीं, क्योंकि it's a part of nature. But the sea has washed away the impression of the footprints. It means, it has a symbolic meaning. It means that our existence is not permanent. I hope I am clear with this. Moving to the next. So 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. Now who is this she in the second stanza? Again, the mother of them. ये poetess जो है वो याद कर रही है सारी memories कि जब आज वो फोटोग्राफ को देख रही है तो उनको ये याद आया कि एक दिन उनकी मम्मी जब वो बहुत छोटी थी उनकी दो कजिन्स के साथ सी बीच पर गई थी. वो सारी मेमोरीज रिकॉल कर रही है. अब दूसरे स्टैंजा में भी वही बात है. क्या बात है कि उस फोटोग्राफ को ऑलमोस्ट 20 से 30 साल हो जाने के बाद पोएटेस की मदर जो थी वो उस फोटो को देख रही थी. जब उसने वो फोटो देखा 20 और 30 साल के बाद तो वो रिएक्शन आज भी पोएटेस को याद है. राइट? लेट अस रिपीट दिस लाइन. Some 20-30 years later, अब लेटर किसके लिए, किसके बाद? ये फोटोग्राफ जब लिया गया था उसके 20 और 30 साल के बाद. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. She means mother. See Betty and Dolly. अब Betty and Dolly कौन है? They are the cousins जिनके साथ पोएटेस की मदर ने फोटोग्राफ क्लिक करवाया था. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up for the picture. मम्मी याद करती है पोएटेस की कि देखो किस तरह से ये छोटी लड़की या डोलियन बैठी, how they had dressed themselves. They must be very excited to visit this place, being very small in age, right? So they were too happy to be there, and that's why they wanted this to be more memorable, right? And that's why they had dressed up themselves beautifully. And all these things are recalled by the poetess mother after almost 20 or 30 years of the photograph being taken, right? Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up for the beach. The sea holiday was a past, mine is a laughter. This line has a serious note to remember. क्यों ऐसा लिखा है? The sea holiday was a past. It means right now, at present, when the poetess is recalling everything associated with the mother as well as the photograph. उस वक्त poetess की मम्मी उनके साथ नहीं. सी हॉलीडे, जब वो पोएटेस की मदर छोटी थी तब जो गए थे, वो भी पास्ट हो चुका है, और पोएटेस की मदर का जो लाफ्टर है वो भी पास्ट हो. इसका सिंपल मीनिंग ये है कि द मदर ऑफ द पोएटेस इज नो मोर, राइट? द सी हॉलीडे वाज अ पास्ट, माइन इज अ लाफ्टर. द सी हॉलीडे था उनकी मम्मी के लिए पास्ट बन चुका है, और मम्मी का जो लाफ्टर था वो किसके लिए पास्ट बन चुका है? फॉर दिस पोएटेस, बिकॉज द मदर हैज पास्ड अवे. Both agree with the labored ease of laws. Dear students, this seems to be a difficult line to understand because it starts with the word "vry," W-R-Y. Now, vry का meaning होता है it has a combined feeling of happiness and sorrow. When you are happy for one thing, it is possible that the same thing might be making you unhappy. So the word "vry" means amusing as well as disappointing. अब amusing और disappointing दोनों साथ में क्यों यूज हुए हैं वो भी समझना बहुत जरूरी है. Both agree with the labored ease of laws. Labored ease का मीनिंग क्या है? पोएट ऐसे बताना चाहते हैं कि this time when she was looking at the photograph, that obviously made her very happy for a temporary period of time. ये मैंने बोला ना, फ्री का मीनिंग अम्यूजिंग, जो आपको खुश करे. तो कौन सी चीज थी तो खुश कर रही थी पोएटेस को? द फोटोग्राफ ऑफ द मदर एज वेल एज द मेमोरी एसोसिएटेड विद द फोटोग्राफ. दैट रियली वाज मेकिंग द पोएटेस वेरी हैप्पी. एट द सेम टाइम इट वाज मेकिंग द पोएटेस सैड. क्यों? बिकॉज द फोटोग्राफ आल्सो रिमाइंड्स हर दैट डियर शर्ली I am no more. ऐसा कौन शायद बोलता है? पोएटेस की मदर शायद. या फोटोग्राफ जता रहा है पोएटेस को कि तुम्हारी मम्मी जो है अब तुम्हारे साथ नहीं है. So the photograph makes the poetess both sad as well as happy. Happy for the reason कि वो क्या याद कर रही है? The happy time that her mother had spent at the sea beach. वो और क्या अच्छी बात बता रही है? The happy time that poetess had spent with her mother while talking about the photograph. ये सारी अच्छी चीजें भी पोएट याद कर रहे हैं, लेकिन पोएट को ये फोटोग्राफ एक रिमाइंडर भी दे रहा है कि बेटा अब मैं तुम्हारे साथ नहीं. तो जो लेबर्ड इज लिखा है ना बेटा बच्चों, लेबर्ड का मीनिंग होता है फोर्स्ड. It simply means it is not easy for the poetess to skip this period of her life. ये जो पीरियड पर्टिकुलर था that she had spent with her mother, वो इतना आसान नहीं था कि वो आसानी से उसको भूल सके. इसीलिए W-R-Y word used. Now let us move to the last stanza. It has a beautiful message hidden. Now she has been dead nearly as many years that girl lived. It simply means the mother of the poetess is no more. Maybe she passed away 20 or 30 years. So and of these circumstances. Circumstance का मीनिंग होता है this particular event और संजोग और condition, right? And of this circumstances, यानी कौन सा circumstances poet याद कर रहे हैं? वो याद कर रहे हैं कब की बात, जब वो इस फोटोग्राफ को देख रहे हैं कि अब उनको क्या याद आ रहा है। फोटोग्राफ को देखकर पोएट के दिमाग में क्या बातें बन रही है। Is it really making her happy or is it really making her sad? Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived, and of these circumstances there is nothing to say at all. Poetess has become so emotional. She is not able to express her feelings in words. That's why it is written in the second last line of that. There is nothing to say at all. ये जो उसको बात याद आ गई ना सारी, she became nostalgic looking at the photograph. उसको पुरानी बातें याद आएगी. She went back in the flashback. तो सारी बातें जो उसको याद आती है, उसको लेकर वो इतनी इमोशनल होती है, भावुक हो जाती है कि उसके पास कुछ भी वर्ड्स अब बोलने के लिए नहीं है. There is nothing to say at all. It's silence. Silences. ये जो circumstances है, ये जो condition है, ये संजोग है जो खड़ा हुआ है उनके साथ, इस स्थिति को याद करके poetess अचानक से शांत हो जाती है. वो कुछ बोल नहीं पाती. It simply means she is an emotional lady and feels very touchy while reminding all that was associated with her mother. In short, it talks about a photograph that carried the pics of poet's mother and two cousins of poet's mother, Dolly and Betty. The poet also says that the photograph reminded her of her mother, and that makes her very emotional. And in the last two stanzas, the poet expresses the same thing by saying that there is nothing to say at all. कुछ कहने के लिए बाकी नहीं है, वो इतनी इमोशनल हो चुकी है, she is not able to utter a word. Right? I hope you all are clear with this. If you have understood the concept and this basic idea of the poem clearly, I do request all of you to like the channel, to subscribe the channel, and please, if you have any doubt, we can always come up with that in the next session. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.